So although I cut most of the videos that you see myself, there was one part that I did not want to do and I needed help on, and that's the title sequence. And Art, I was wondering if you could tell me or tell the viewers about the process that we went through to create the title sequence.
Yeah, sure, no problem. Hey there. So, I'm a designer and I tend to spend a lot of time with various graphic design programs and things like that. So yeah, when Singh kind of approached me and asked me about helping out with a bit of a sort of animation thing as an intro, I thought it would be a cool project. So we went out for just a bite, and Singh essentially kind of explained his vision of what he was thinking to have, and I kind of saw it in my mind's eye as well right away. So I thought it was a pretty straightforward little piece. And after that, I spent a few hours kind of getting some ideas together and sketching some things out, and I was showing Singh, and essentially we were collaborating a little bit as we went along. So I can show you. I mean, obviously, what you're seeing right now is kind of the final without the sound. Still have to kind of work on that, but the video itself is complete, and the way we got there was through a few iterations essentially. And at first went in and sketched some storyboards out, and my initial approach was a little bit more complex, and we had to scale back because obviously restrictions on time and resources. And my initial thinking was to use more circular motion where the silhouettes of the cities and the mountains are brought in in a round circular motion, as opposed to just from the bottom of the screen. And so I bounced that idea around and decided that it wasn't really the best way to go. Although it could have been more conceptual, if you will. So perhaps would have been a bit more engaging. But what I did get out of it was the idea of turning the silhouettes into sort of a more round shape. And we ended up kind of going with a slightly different approach, as you might have seen. So kind of the second pass at it was a bit simpler, with the silhouettes of all of our elements coming in from the bottom or the top sort of thing. There's a little bit of sideways motion if you pay close attention. But yeah, so that was kind of the backbone, and we needed to get that worked out before we could actually start animating the piece. Yeah, Singh was really cool about helping out with obviously the Japanese title sequence. We have this little bit, a title slide that comes in the very end, and I don't speak Japanese at all, so I needed his help with figuring out what would be the best way to show this particular piece. And as I said, we were collaborating closely and sending ideas back and forth until we were happy with something that could work and still be doable in the time that we had. Throughout the process, before any sort of animation would happen, I would mock up a sort of a frame of how I envisioned this thing to look like. In the actual process, I realized that the cities themselves, the silhouettes, they were quite similar because of the color used. So I was using blue tones to start with, and then I switched to green and a blue for some contrast, and that way it's a bit more obvious that something is changing because things are moving really quickly. But yeah, that's the premise behind it. The idea is very simple, and it's a fun little project to work on.